Alrighty, guys, what is going on? Corbin with Corbin's Cornhole Reviews. Joined today, of course, by my buddy Eddie from Cornhole Bag Reviews. Got another episode here in our podcast series. We're going to cover Surefires, pro snipers, and different material types. So Eddie did a ton of research on material types. He's going to tackle that one. It's actually very interesting. So let's get into the Surefires.
All right.
Think so? Surefires, for stats, we have a 4 on the slow side and a 7 on the fast side. Now, I personally disagree with that. I believe you do also.
Very much so.
I feel like they're more of like a 4 to 5 on the slow side and then pretty much an 8 on the fast side.
Mm-hmm.
It does have the small disc fill, and they resale, anywhere from, I've seen like 120, 130 up to 200 plus, depending on model.
Yeah, I think like the new Birchberries and Surefires are, 220, 240 for limiteds, but everything else.
I've seen those triple crowns go like
crazy
over 300. It just depends. Yeah. But I do have a Surefire in my hand here. This one's actually brand new. They're going to a buddy of mine, but I do like the fill on them. I like other fills better.
True.
But slow side, it's actually one of my favorite slow sides in my hand.
Sure.
But I don't like how it plays.
Agreed.
So when it's warm out, when it's really nice out, the slow side is beautiful. It's one of the best slow sides you can play with. It's not overly fast. It's still very hole friendly. As soon as humidity comes anywhere near you, get a different bag. And that's just me. I know a ton of people still throw them in humidity. They just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Fast side, it stays fast no matter what. When it's warm out, too fast, I think.
True.
It's just, it moves. I mean, that 8 is kind of generous, I think, on a warmer day.
I think
it's more of a 9.
Yeah.
It can really kick up there. It's not quite pro sniper speed, but it's up there. Humidity, it still does very well. It cuts through, but it's one of those situational bags. The weather's got to be nice, or you got to be indoors.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think the hard part for me with the Surefire is like, for like the size and feel of the bag and the material combination, it's like I'd almost rather have a different bag in both situations. Like in the time where it's like hot and dry, I like my Minnesota Tailgate Omega is like something slow, like JC's, like Dopes, like something like slower and super hole friendly.
Oh, yeah, I'm pulling carpet out.
Yeah, with less of a crazy fast side because you don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's crazy fast or really humid, or like when it's really humid and I want a crazy fast bag, it's too sticky, so I just have a one-sided bag, and I'm like, why aren't I just throwing a Surefire or a Viper or a Pro Sniper or something faster, like on both sides, so I have a two-sided bag again? And I know some people, I know your comment, like some people still throw them when it's humid. In my opinion, I think it's like a mental thing where they're like, I spent money on the Surefire. I'm a Surefire guy. I love Surefires, so I'm throwing Surefires. Because I watch one of the guys at my my blind draws is one of the better throwers there. And like it gets sticky and he's throwing Surefire sticky side. And I'm like, I'm only competing / beating you because your bags are holding up on the hole and mine are not, because you refuse to switch to a different bag. I would say the small disc, I like it less than the bigger disc, the Costello disc. I do think that it beads together super, super good. I mean, it's really comfortable to throw. And the materials are like not super thin, so it still feels good in the hand. And I mean, I'm sure like everyone knows with Lucky, I mean, the corners are good, the stitch is good. It's really high quality. I understand why people like them. But at the same time, I just don't think for either of our arsenals, it makes sense in a lot of situations. Like I don't ever feel like I'm yanking it out of the bag like this is going to fit perfectly today, I
agree with you. And then I'll throw them. Don't get me wrong. At a blind draw, someone's like, hey, I got Surefires, let's throw. I'm like, cool. I have zero issue with that. There's other brands I like better, and we don't need to get into that on this episode.
Yeah.
But my problem with really Lucky in general with their bags is they're so dependent on how you break them in.
100%. Pro snipers especially. We'll get to that.
Especially pro snipers. I mean, I get messages a lot about it. How do I break this in? How do I break this in? Whatever. I'm sure you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Surefires, people are like, how do I break them in? And I literally respond with very carefully.
Yeah, I just maybe a soak and a dry. And
you can do a hot water soak in an hour or two in the dryer on low, but you're going to want to throw after that. And that's really it. I mean, I did have a set that I conditioned because it was like, I did a soak and a tumble and I was like, it needs a little more. Mm-hmm. And I decided to condition them and I ruined them. absolutely ruined them. I won't soften them. I don't really see the need for that.
They are a little, I would say
floppy.
you're holding a new one when you get it. I've held new ones. The materials are a little bit, not dense, but they are a little tighter when you get them. So, I mean, like,
They are.
And to your point, they loosen up really, really fast. But I could understand why you open up your package, maybe you've conditioned a couple bags before, you hold that immediately and you're like, I need to soften this. Like because it comes a little bit more dense and you don't see it like it's going to taco out on you instantly. But I mean, they do break in really, really fast.
I've noticed a big variation, especially in the Surefires. The Pro Snipers, not so much, but I've noticed a gigantic variation in how full they are.
100%.
And Lucky does make a good bag. They have good quality bags. Their stitching has never given me any sort of an issue. You know, their corners are good, all that. I've only had issues with the amount of fill because I've had Surefires that were literally as floppy as a Pro Sniper out of the bag. Mm-hmm. I've had some that are like this. This is kind of medium, you know, out of the bag. That's not bad. I mean, it's stiff. Don't get me wrong. I'm bouncing it around to get it to flop. Yeah. But this one would be okay. And then I had another set that was like Pro Advantage full.
Sure. And I heard with Midnight, I was reading a Facebook post the other day that someone was like looking for Midnight Surefires. And people were like, well, just get a normal Surefire. What's the difference? And a lot of people said, like, in my opinion, it's a fuller, like they filled the Midnight ones more than the other ones. They did.
I had a set.
Yeah.
Yep. I did have a set of those. They were a little more full, but they weren't nearly as full as this red set that I had. It's seriously, I don't know if it just got overfilled and they were like, yeah, screw it, whatever. And I don't know.
I would say to the price point comment we made, so for brand new on their website, they are $105, 4 to 6 weeks shipping, which and I said in my review too that if you're willing to wait, they're doing releases like crazy lately. I mean, like Kill Shot's crazy. Like where it's like every week to 2 weeks, it's like, you know, they have like 8 different styles up, and as long as you're within the first hour to 2 hours, they're still there. So I mean, like, and I'm sure you could agree with this too. I mean, there's so many people selling them now that it's only, I mean, there's just so many. They're becoming so common now. Like so many people
coming down. Yeah.
So the egregious price, like if you're watching this, like I really want Surefires. I mean, you don't need to spend $150, $170 to get Surefires. Like there's plenty of people for $110, $120, $130. And if you're willing to wait, $105. I mean, like it's, so, I mean, if you want to try these bags, I mean, they are good. I mean, there's a reason people like them. There's a market for them. And I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's kind of like do you want a Harley Davidson or do you want a motorcycle? You know, because it's like, you know, because Surefires are kind of like the bag right now. You know, they're the bag to have. So,
yep.
But
I agree with you there.
We can move on to snipers if you want.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up Pro Sniper speeds just because I'm absolutely curious if they did change the website, because I'm fairly certain they did.
On Lucky's website, they don't have speeds. So I got the speeds from Cornhole Addict Speed Chart because that's the only place on the internet that has speed charts. And and I think it's ridiculously wrong, which we'll talk about. But
wow. So I will say they pulled that off of Lucky's website, and then Lucky changed speeds, and then I just looked it up, and Lucky has no speeds listed.
Yeah, no, for that, because they haven't. So they have a 4.7 listed for Surefire, but not for Pro Sniper,
which is so insanely off.
4.7, yeah.
It's just, it's not. I hear 4.7, and I'm like, cool, Vikings.
Yeah, no. Didn't you know a Game Changer's a 3.6? No, I'm just saying that's called a Surefire.
I thought somebody actually said that.
No,
like, holy crap, you are messing with me now. You were totally messing with me. I'm checking to see if it's on the standard colors, which they don't even have listed on their site. Anyway, we can get into it. That's no problem. Mm-hmm. So we have Pro Snipers as well. I do have, this is literally my very first set I ever purchased of Pro Snipers. Not even
I thought you were going to say of bags. And I was like, strong bag to start with.
No, I didn't start with these. We'll get into what I started with eventually, but I'm not proud. And it's not Game Changers. It's fine. I'm a little more proud than that.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, these Pro Snipers, literally my very first set, and I will never get rid of them. The other 3 bags are all graffiti stamped, basically, because I boiled them all together. So they have like a cool custom look to them now, actually. But I'll never sell these. I never throw them, but I'll never sell them. But the stats on these, they're listed at a 4.10. I think we both agree that they're more of a 5 to 6 than a 9. Mm-hmm. It's got the small disc fill, same as that Surefire. It's got a really nice fill. It's that pro fill that they use in a lot of their bags. And then the price on these, I just like the Surefires. I think they wildly vary.
Yep.
But you don't have to break the bank either. You can easily find them for $110, $120 up to maybe 150 or 160 if they're new and like limited.
Mm-hmm. And I'm even seeing them start to come down. I mean, like you see people post them for 160, 180 and people like put the laughing emojis on it, you know, like it's just like, they're not up the place they were like 3-4 months ago.
Oh, absolutely. So how do you feel about Surefire or Pro Snipers? Sorry.
I'm just not, I don't know. I've thrown them a couple times. And I think it's because I've tried a lot of other bags. I'm just not the biggest fan of them. To the point that we talked about earlier, so dependent on break-in, and they can be so vastly different. So like I have some people that have, you know, like, I mean, I use the word tacoed when I talk about, but I mean like a book. I mean, just so floppy. And then like, I mean, it's hanging over my knuckles where like, I just physically, I feel like I'm wobbling it in the air. I can't get a grip on it. And then I've tried some other good ones and whatnot, but I don't know what it is about like the materials or whatnot. It's just, it's not as comfortable for my throw. I don't feel like I get as good of it does a fine grip, but I don't feel like I throw it as well. I don't know what it is. And maybe it's because of that 6 slow side, but even when it gets faster, you know, I move to a Costello that's a little denser. I move to a Game Changer that's a little, you know, maybe it's just not me being comfortable with them, but personally, it's not a bag I'd run to. On the positives, insanely hole friendly. They do feel really high quality. I mean, the materials are nice. I know we were talking like the slow side is really only comparable to a Costello. They use this 6 material that really nobody else uses, which kind of really helps when it gets humid because they don't really stick up. They hold that 6 through humidity and whatnot, and they hold that 9 through humidity. So on a pro forum, I mean, they're basically that speed range in all conditions. Which is pretty unique for a bag that's not just fast and faster, that has a decently controllable side. But again, for my throw, it's just not my personal favorite, but I can understand the appeal, and there's a lot of people around me that throw them. So I will throw them in blind draws, like we say, but it's really dependent on whose bags they are, because if they're the super tacoed ones, I can't throw them. Like I physically can't throw them. And
I couldn't agree more. Everyone's like, you know, for the longest time, Pro Sniper was my bag. That is what I threw. I absolutely love them. And I've kind of faded off that. I will still throw them. Not a problem. I threw them Monday. You know, I threw them with my partner. No problem. But I don't throw them personally myself anymore just because I've stumbled upon Costellos. They're, to me, a better Pro Sniper. And we'll get into that with materials and stuff. But I did love them for the longest time. But I've told people from day one, I only like mine.
Yeah,
the way you not like anyone else's. Yeah. Nope, I do not like anyone else's Pro Snipers. And it's I was the risky one. You know, I boiled them. So I boiled them for 2 minutes each bag, whatever. Not on this set because I messed up this set boiling them all together. But I mean, I didn't mess them up. They throw great. But I boil them and then I tumble them and I throw them. That is it. Anyone that has thrown them in the washing machine even ruins it. Softener ruins it. Conditioner absolutely ruins it. And I've ruined a set of Pro Snipers by doing that because I was like, man, out of the bag, they're so waxy. You get that waxy on the slow side, and then the fast side is just super stiff. And it's like, whoa, okay, I got to do something with these right now.
I remember
in the wash, said, crap.
I remember in your YouTube, like how to break in bags video, you specifically made a point of do not do this with Pro Snipers. You will ruin them.
Absolutely. And that's, if you like a crazy loose floppy bag, perfect. You might want to do it. That's fine. But I felt so many. And even at a draw like 2 weeks ago, my buddy was like, oh, you got to feel my Pro Snipers. He's like, I know you love them. And I'm like, okay. He threw it at me and I go, ruined, threw it right back to him. And he was like, oh, I love how they play. I'm like, they're too loose. It's just entirely too loose. Like you're saying, they taco. These are broken.
No, but that's, that's what Surefires are like too.
These are right where you want them to be.
100%.
Because they're still maintaining their fullness. I think that's where the boil helps. Yeah, you can still grip it. And there's something about Pro Snipers to me that they do feel great in my hand. You're saying they're a little loose, they're a little floppy, they roll over your knuckles. Like there's something about this fill and just the materials on them that I've always loved. And it just kind of inspires the confidence in throwing. And I throw them well. I've just moved to a different style, but I would have zero hesitation throwing them if anybody wanted to in a tournament.
A caveat quick for a thing you said, if you like a crazy loose and floppy bag, you can break them in. I think anyone who out there who likes a crazy loose and floppy bag, I think you're underestimating how crazy and loose and floppy these actually get.
Are.
So like if you like a loose and floppy bag, this might actually be too loose and floppy. So I mean, like, don't take this as, oh, I need to condition my, just throw them, because I promise they'll probably get to a point that you're comfortable. like I would not go from the get-go. Yeah.
If you're feeling risky, boil them. I've suggested that to a couple of people and they've loved the results.
Sure.
But almost everyone I talk to about pro snipers that talks about them says mine are right where I like them. I know it's going to go though. Mm-hmm. They know they're going to get too loose. They're going to get too floppy. So they typically have a backup set, and that's okay, but I don't want to have to carry around another set of bags just because I know at some point these are going to get too much.
Or like, especially for the price point. I mean, if you're looking to,
they're not cheap.
If you're looking to sell to somebody, like, okay, here's an $130 set, but if you throw them too much, you got to buy another $130 set.
Correct.
So it's like, or you can buy this, $80 set, and they'll probably stay pretty close to the same for a long period of time. So I mean,
well, yeah, because they're a little cheaper from Lucky. They're $85 plus shipping, so I think they come out to $95, and that was even special edition because I just got the 4th of July ones.
Sure.
I gave them to a buddy, whatever. But
sure you did.
No, I really did.
My left suitcase. That's my buddy.
No, he's got a special 4th of July collection. He's probably listening. Right. He knows who he is. But no, I sold those to him. But I was a little upset when I got them because they looked really sweet. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I'm never going to throw them. Like, I have other bags I like way better now. Mm-hmm. It's just whatever. But the price point at least is a little better. 95 shipped. Comes in under a lot of other manufacturers.
Mm-hmm. And I would say like a punishment of riches for anyone listening to me or Corbin is anytime that we say, it's not in our arsenal or throwing, remember, we've tried a lot of bags and we have a lot of bags in the arsenal. So like if it's not in the arsenal, that just means out of 40 bags, we picked 3 or 4 that we're using on a regular basis, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Bag. Yeah, it just means we've dialed in these slight nuances in our confidence in our throws that it's just not in the bag, but that doesn't mean it's not
Absolutely. Good. No, it's a good point to make because I'd try not to, and I know you're the same way. Mm-hmm. I don't talk down on bags.
No.
I could absolutely hate it. Yeah. I could hate a bag. I mean, watch the last video I did with purple bags that are possibly
that you put on toast,
a stick of toast something spreading. In your kitchen. Maybe it's in your fridge, maybe it's on the counter. I don't know, but you put it on ears of corn. So I do not like those bags whatsoever.
I loved your comment that you said.
I've hardly said negative.
This is for a very niche market, I would say.
It is. It's a very niche market, man. It's like,
and then proceeded to go like 4 bag.
Oh, dude, I did.
It's the worst. You did that with Game Changers too, and I was like, I know.
I just need to stop telling you if I like a bag or not.
Yeah, and then you love Costellos and you front board them like 8 times, so it's like
7.
Okay,
it's fine. It's
like,
fine.
how good are these guys' reviews, guy?
Yeah, I apologize to Black Sheep multiple times on that video. So
they're probably like, it's only 7 minutes. You could just redo it.
You could probably just do it again.
No.
Little do they know my neighbor was poking her head out the entire time, and I couldn't do it again. So
and we talked about this with my video today. I got dogs having a good old fight in the backyard. So the fun of recording, guys, it's you spend 8 minutes. Throwing. Oh yeah, you spend 8 minutes doing something, and then something happens, and you're like, do I really redo that? Like, I got other things I got to do today.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like, hey, it is what it is.
I got 2 hours to record this 12 times because my neighbor wants to ask me the same cooking question over and over.
Exactly, dude.
All right, well, we'll go into materials here because I think so.
Yeah, let's jump into materials.
Last week we talked about fills, and we kind of talked about just our pros and cons of fills, but I would say material and fill go hand in hand in making a good bag and making a bag feel good, as well as obviously the speeds and production of the bag. But we'll talk about people don't really talk about the materials. They kind of just talk about, it feels like this or feels like that. But I talked to some people in the industry and they gave me some of the top couple materials that people order from. Caveat to this, while these materials probably make up a good portion of the market, depending on where they get it from, the process that they do it, the type of stitching they do, that's what differs in the speed ranges and whatnot, and that's why some bags feel different than others. But in general, these are the materials that most people order from, and the names of them per se. So a really common one is Rave. And Rave is a woven polyester with acrylic backing. So that is your Game Changer fast side, your Surefire fast side, your Typhoon fast side, your Pro X fast side, your Costello fast side, your Mercenary fast side, all of that, polyester fast weathered material that we say don't gets affected by humidity, usually in the 8 to 9 speed range. That's what they would call a Rave material. And then staying on that material, inverted Rave, or you'll talk about suede and reverse Rave, but they just take the material and they flip it around, and that's that acrylic backing. So that's where you're seeing that Pro Sniper, that Viper, that smoother side of the material, but still holding that 8-9 speed range. So that's you can probably agree it's a fairly common material in any bag that goes over the speed of 7. I'm 6, 7.
And I'm literally comparing bags in my hand now.
Yeah,
you said it's like the flip stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can see what you're saying, but like this one's definitely smoother because it's the acrylic like you're saying, and the polyester you can see the threads a lot more. Mm-hmm. They feel different, obviously, but I mean this is broken in too. That's not quite fair, but I mean it is cool just to compare it. It's very, very similar.
It's definitely smooth versus less smooth because the polyester side is not smooth and it feels a little bit thinner. Like
it's smooth but with some texture.
Correct. Yeah, and then the flip side is like really smooth. Like like not stitched at all.
Fast side is just very smooth. Absolutely. Yep.
But I would say that material is used for a reason. It's really weather resistant. In terms of like humidity and rain, like anything, it stays fast during that material or during those conditions, and that's the reason that it's used. It stays at that 9 speed all the time. Caveat to that, and we've talked about this all the time. If conditions are warm, I think it picks up speed when it hits the board. It's just
so freaking
ridiculously fast. Crazy hole friendly, but ridiculously fast. A little bit on the thinner side for everything, and that's where fill really matters. So in terms of, that's why Pro Sniper disc fill feels so good, because you're feeling more of the disc because it's a thinner material. And that's why a super beaded material, so let's say like a Razor or BG, like BG doesn't use this material, but if they did, you would really feel a circle bead, which which doesn't feel good.
I'd probably hate it.
Yeah, which I know we've seen a certain company switch to a more circle bead, and it's not my favorite anymore. So, but because of that, this is usually a thinner material that needs to have a good fill because you feel it a lot. But super friendly, super fast. We can agree on that on both the inverted and the normal. The next material is called the Reba and Raffia. So those are all of your between the 4 and 7 speed rangers, that softer, Surefire, like what do we got? Fast side of Pro Advantage, fast side of Viking, any of those softer speed. I mean, I know like the Omegas, they're polyester and nylon mix. Like there's sometimes that other companies switch it up and mix some materials, but in general, that Raffia and Reba, and again inverted or whoever they ordered from is how it differs. But that's pretty general in that middling speed range. The bags that slow down a little bit in humidity are softer. And I know you made a comment before this video. Your favorite feeling material in the right conditions.
Favorite feeling material. I mean, we were talking before we started, and that's fast side of JC, fast side of Viking, fast side of Chaos. I'm even going to go on a limb and say slow side of all slides.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I have probably all slides right here.
Probably a very similar material because that material is super.
I'd say
super soft.
Yeah, the all slides and the Reynolds Freedoms are like almost identical. I mean, these are softer because they're more broken in, but like if you look at the stitching and you feel the material and you look at the density is big for these. So, I mean, for all of these materials, they're not thin. So I said in my review today of the Freedoms that because they have the disc, not the disc, they have the asymmetric bead, but it works because the material is a little thicker. You don't feel the bead.
Typhoons, not Freedoms.
Oh, don't. Oh, crap. That is the worst mix-up because that is such an opposite bag. But yes, Typhoons.
I know what you meant because I watched your review.
Yeah, but and for every bag, it's actually when I get those materials in bags like the JCs, for example, or the JCs and the dopes and stuff that are thicker on both sides, you really got to dig to feel the bead, which kind of is a benefit where it really beads together well. It makes a good handle because the material kind of fills in the gaps of that fill type. But still hole friendly, but to our point, probably holds up a little bit more in humidity. It's usually the bag that starts sticking sticking first.
Yeah, it's as soon as it gets sticky. Yeah, I mean, it's even. I'd go on a limb and say that even like Bravo fast side is like that. The WTF Bravos, and I was playing in humidity the other night with them, and they started sticking. I mean, you know how carpet is; it just flips sides.
Yep.
Carpet becomes fast, and then the fast side becomes slow, which is total.
I think it's more so carpet stays the same, and the other side just drastically decreases.
Dude, it's not though. I mean,
you think carpet speeds up?
Like slower, it speeds up. I'm not kidding when I say your sides literally flip. Like your fast side is now your carpet side, and it's
we'll get
not
to carpet.
A5
Hold
still.
your horses there, Mister.
No,
we're almost there.
The fast side of Bravo is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
it's very, very soft. It's that really soft, nice material, a little thicker, like you're saying, and it's one of my favorite materials in the hand. Shamrocks, Vikings, Chaos, all those. I mean, they all share a very similar material, and it just feels good.
Comfortable to throw. Yep. And very controllable too.
Extremely. Yep. Still maintaining hole friendliness, but won't punish you if you're a little off.
And these materials, I would say you can like break them in. Like they are good to be broken in and conditioned for a little bit because it almost softens them up a little bit more. I don't know if it like puts some of the threads like together a little more. It might make them hole friendlier. I just think all together, like as long as you're, not that pro sniper material, like, and we've talked about before that slow side is very unique to that and like cats where we don't necessarily know what they're using, but that kind of get broken in weird. But this material, when you get in these slower ranges, really hold well with the conditioning process.
Yep. Conditioning, softening, any generic break-in that you can think of, it holds up really well, but they will take a little longer if you're just throwing.
100%. Yep. Next we got kind of an older style. A couple bags still use it, but suede, reverse suede. Right, so your old, duck cloth stick and slide bags were suede. You got Cooper Classics. You got the JCs still use the reverse suede. I know the pro competition just came, or the throwdown they were using Slide Right 2.0s, which is reverse suede on the slow side. So I mean, it's still being used, but it's definitely less common now. Only for the fact that I think that they're really sticky in humidity. It's just
they're insanely sticky. It doesn't even have to be that humid out. They're insanely sticky. Like there's not a lot of throwers that will utilize that sticky of a bag.
No, I mean when it's really fast though, it's probably the only bag that is still a block push bag is the suede reverse suede. Okay, well I'm not as versed in carpet as you. You've become this carpet aficionado over the last 3 months.
Because it's good.
It's because you like watching a bag go 90 degrees left after it touches the board.
Man, my bags don't kick. Get out of here with your crooked throw.
But suede, reverse suede, obviously a little bit older, still being used. It's if none of you have felt it before, it feels like one sheet of like not leather, but that thicker, denser, smooth side
like the
material.
backside of leather.
Yeah, to a point.
It's very similar to like the backside of cowhide or something. And it's not a bad material by any means. It is still very usable. I mean, if you look at ACL videos from a couple years ago, pros are throwing slide rights. It's definitely usable. And one of the cool parts about it is it's incredibly beginner friendly.
Yes.
It will kick, obviously, just because it's so sticky. But a lot of beginners can keep slide rights on the boards. Yeah,
I would say, though, if you're not right in the middle of the hole, it's not like you're going to be tumbling around the back or sliding in from it. I mean,
no, you're not sneaking around making tricky finesse shots. There's no way. You're shooting for the hole and you're shooting hard. But
yeah, I mean, and there's a reason why they're still. I mean, like, granted, the JCs, I think the JCs are still really friendly for a reverse suede bag. Granted,
absolutely.
I broke them in with softener and really loosen them up because I would say suede's one of those materials that kind of like cowhide is dense when you get it, really dense.
Absolutely.
And you got to break it in a lot. Now we get to something I have a little less experience on and you are more experienced on and gets broken in different ways, played in different ways, but carpet, right? So obviously there's a couple I'm sure there's plenty of different kinds of carpet depending on the company. Because I know I was just throwing the Dopes by Anthony, and that carpet doesn't even play like carpet. It plays like a 5.6, just like friendly slide bag, and then.
But it will play like carpet if you need it to.
Correct. Yeah, but it's less of carpet than a WTF bag.
I agree.
And then one unique thing that I learned about carpet was a lot of bags utilize what's called a herringbone stitch, which is the triangles stacked on top of each other and then coming the other direction down, and that is one way that they can weave in some. Can use hybrid types of carpet or weave in different ways to try out different types of materials and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's what WTF slow sides, a lot of BG slow sides use the herringbone, and then other carpet bags we're looking at, the Beast, the Dopes. I'm sure you could list off 19 other ones, but
yeah, I mean they're more of just standard carpet, but every carpet's so much different, and carpet's one of those that I'm very, very careful on break-in. It's almost like pro snipers. It's to that point because I still hold fast that you don't condition carpet.
Sure.
It's just, it changes it, and you absolutely do not boil carpet 100% because that changes the speed characteristics forever. You cannot get that back. With tangos, with x-rays, those WTF bags, I actually have conditioned those. And that was because I could not get them where I wanted to with other means. I just could not get them feeling how I knew they needed to feel.
So do you at all like soak and tumble at the beginning, or you just throw?
I did. I did just like a normal washer wash.
Okay.
Did a little bit of softener in there just in case, because wrinkle guard's really mild.
Yeah.
And that's why I use it for the most part. It's mild. It doesn't stick. If you've ever gotten bags from somebody that was like, yeah, I broke them in with softener, and you're like, all right, cool. And then you get them in the mail and you're like, you touch it and then your fingers stick together.
And they still smell.
It's
like
just,
your fingers smell like
and they
softener.
have that super, which I mean, there's worse things.
Yeah.
But it's still, you can tell like way too much never got washed out. Right. So I did that. I did softener. I did a wash. I threw them a ton. I'm like, these are not there. I know what they need to feel like. We need to keep going. And I talked to a couple different guys about it, and they kind of said, yeah, condition it. It does help. And I did, but I washed the absolute crap out of them with Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Like literally scrub each bag for 3-4 minutes, just with my hands, just scrub and make them as bubbly as I could.
So this is pre-broken hand or pre-broken wrist, or?
No, that was actually like less than a month ago.
Is that the part of the PT? You gotta scrub
that's
bags for 3-4 minutes.
Is doing bags. No. I actually got the all clear on the wrist the other day to take the brace off and start lifting whatever I want to. So we're getting there. But yeah, this was, I'll just scrub them literally. And I always tell people, use Dawn. Like if it can get oil out of duck feathers, you can get conditioner out of a bag, right?
Sure.
So it's a big thing. Don't condition them, throw them in the wash, and then dry them. They're going to be so incredibly fast, and it will not just come out on its own. So the Dawn just really helps it come out, but something about the conditioner just kind of loosens up the fibers on WTFs, especially.
Well, and to that point, that could, especially in some of the more expensive bags, that could affect durability of the bag. Like you could find more, like it could break open easier. The fibers can fall out. Like you can start getting holes, or the stitching could come loose. Because that material, a lot of most carpet bags, obviously, is, it's a carpet on one side and then a rebar, some kind of faster material on the other side, and they're stitched together. So if those carpet fibers are being stitched to another material and you're kind of ruining the integrity of that carpet, that stitch can over time slowly come undone. And to our point, we don't want a bag that you're throwing it and you got to buy a new one 3 months later. So being careful with your conditioning process can really affect the longevity, especially in carpet.
Well, and that's why you'll notice I only condition WTF bags, because if you've seen those with that crazy awesome stitch around the outside, they're stitched around the entire outside of the bag. It's like, it's so thick, it's so robust. I have faith that that's not just going to let loose.
I guarantee that's why they do it too. They probably are like quality control. They probably like this will last longer. Just having this really big stitch.
It's great. Now we're going to find out. I'm going to do some durability testing because the X-rays do use that herringbone, just like the Wizards do. And I'm just going to see durability between the two, because Wizards were not conditioned. The X-rays were. And I'm going to see, does this affect this specific carpet? Because, Wizards had issues with that herringbone to start.
Yep.
And then they changed some stuff around. Maybe it was a different manufacturer or whatever, but they've since fixed them, I believe.
Well, and if you haven't seen those stitch, most bags have a cross stitch, right? So it's almost like stitch going this way, interlaced, right? And that's a lot harder to pull a whole thing out, or that's why you see those runs in bags. Like you'll see people get those white line runs. It's because one of the little stitches gets yanked in there. But that herringbone, because of that triangle pattern, if one of those kind of gets pulled up or pulled out, it's a lot easier to separate those fibers. Yeah. So that stitch is a lot more, tentative. And with a new bag like the Wizards, that's probably why they're having quality. It's just a harder stitch to lock down if you're not doing it all the time. So. But
it feels so nice though. It's like it's such a soft carpet once it's broken in. It's just, there's something about that herringbone. I don't know if it's the actual stitching of it, if it's the pattern, if it's the actual type of carpet being used.
Sure.
It's so incredibly soft, but it does play a little quicker than other carpets do. It's like 6.5 instead of like a 4 or 5.
Agreed. And one way I want to tie it into our last podcast too. So obviously we've talked a little bit about fills and materials and whatnot, but so we talk about how BGs and WTFs are big puffy bags that use a light ball fill that me and you do not enjoy for faster, thinner bags.
Correct.
But because WTF, their fast side is still a thicker-ish material, that middle ground material, and the carpet obviously is a thicker material, they can get away with using that because it doesn't affect the hand feel. And I think a lot of people, don't realize that just because we say a bead is bad for one bag does not mean it's bad for another bag. And it leads to a lot of the cool carpet things you can do. On the other side, the bags that their whole goal is just to be hole friendly and not kick need to have a thinner, smaller, heavier bag and keep that thinner profile because they're going for the slides and arounds. They're not trying to do any tumbling, and they're supposed to just, because they're so thin, they have to be comfortable in hand. Otherwise, they will not do well in sales and whatnot because they're just not comfortable to throw. So when we were talking about last week about that 2-piece puzzle, that's really the key is if you see bags that don't do well or people don't enjoy it, and we've said this multiple times with the Reynolds Freedoms aren't comfortable to me just because super, super thin fast side and super beady fill. Where
Patriots are very similar.
Yeah, and that's the Reynolds fill, and that's why I was saying the Typhoons, I actually think it's nice because it's a crazy hole-friendly fill, like you were saying last time. The super circular beads, super hole-friendly, almost the most hole-friendly probably, but you have to have a material that doesn't ruin the hand feel.
Yep. Because
then it messes with a lot of things, and it just isn't fun to throw.
You've said it before too, people look right past materials when they're like, how's the fill? How's the fill? Mm-hmm. It's always how's the fill,
or what are the speeds? It's like, well, yeah, it's a 6.9, but
whatever.
It's a very different 6.9 than a Viper, and that's a very different 6.9 than a Game Changer, and that's a very different 6.9. It's just
absolutely pro snipers, whatever. They all feel different. They all play different.
Even though they're in the same speed range. I mean, when you do a 1 to 10 scale, that's a pretty thin margin to explain a playability of a bag. And I know at least when I started and before I started actually reviewing bags, I'm just like, oh, that bag's a 5.8. Okay, cool. I'll take it. It's $40.
Great.
What's the difference?
That's right in my range.
Yeah. I want a 5 to 8. Cool. And then I have like 12 different 5.8s, and I'm like, half of these stink and half of them are sweet. Just because of the
and
playability.
None of them play the same.
No, not one. And I have family members this weekend at camp, and we're like, how many different bags are there? Like, I mean, don't they all just go in the hole? I'm like, once you get in this rabbit hole, man, they're so different every single bag. And I was like, I enjoy throwing 10 different kinds in the same day just because it's throwing 10 different games. I'm like, oh, I got to throw higher now. I got to throw lower. You're practicing all these shots. And it's really, really cool. But I think the combination of that material bead is kind of you have to find a combo that you like. And I talk a lot about how we both really like disc fills, but I know you really like carpet bags. So you can obviously say, I really like bead fills as well. And I also like Game Changers, so I like asymmetrical beads. So when you talk about all the fills, I like all the fills and I like all the materials, but they have to be in the right combos.
It's got to be a right combination. That's all it is. It's finding your combination for your throw.
100%. And break it in correctly.
Yeah, don't screw it up. It's pretty simple.
All right, well, that will conclude this week's podcast about materials. But obviously, we talk about the Surefires and the Pro Snipers. Lucky's popular. People like them. They're becoming more available. And I think if you try them, I mean, they are for people. Us both personally, I think we agree that we like bags slightly better, but they're both still very good bags.
Just better for us. That's all. I mean, we found our combos, you got to find yours. If a Surefire is your combo, I am happy as hell for you. That's awesome. You found a bag that you love. That's great.
But again, so we got Corbin from Corbin's Cornhole Reviews. He's reviewed.
Nicely done.
Have you reviewed both the Pro Sniper and the Surefire? I know you did so he has both those. I have the review for the Surefire up. I have a review for the Pro Sniper coming up next week. Again, popular bags, so you can definitely find some information on them and find more of our detailed opinions and our throwing styles in those videos as well. So
absolutely
appreciate you guys listening to another long for this community video, but a lot of information and a lot of cool stuff you can learn. And hopefully you guys can use this to better make a decision on what works for you. So we'll catch you guys in the next one and hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.